And we are live. Welcome everyone to a live stream of the Learn Cardano podcast. This is one of the very rare occasions where I do a live stream and I have a very special guest joining me on this one, Vledic from Drunken Dragon Games. This is going to be an interesting one. I have started playing around with this one. I do want to learn more because I haven't had much exposure to it. Vledic, welcome to the podcast, and we welcome your cat on here as well. Don't we love doing lives?
Yeah, definitely. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Pete.
All right, and awesome to have you here. But let's start off, as I always do, and learn a little bit more about yourself and your crypto journey. How did you get into crypto, and how did you end up in the Cardano ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that I ended up in Cardano because of several reasons. So I've been in the blockchain space not actively for a really long time, mainly because I've always been very idealistic and I really like technology. My background is on software engineering. Uh, so blockchain was really what I saw in blockchain, in the blockchain space, especially when Bitcoin came, was like this promise of unlocking human collaboration and decentralizing everything. But it wasn't really until I discovered that some of my favorite computer scientists were working for IOHK that I really discovered Cardano. So that was a really cool moment because Cardano really, it was like this middle point where several of uh, things that I like met. So it was not just like really good functional programming because, well, my background is in functional programming. Um, so that's how I ended up knowing about Cardano. It's Philip Watler is one of my favorite computer scientists, and so and he started doing some presentations on Bluetooth back in like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and also it was a really well done technology. I really loved the fact that they were research first, like they did all the hard investments first, and also I really loved the mission of IHK of banking the unbanked and giving financial services to those that do not have it. So, so I definitely fell in love with the Cardano space because of that. It took a bit longer for me to actually start being or started developing on Cardano, which was later when I created the D&D pool. But I guess we might talk about that later.
All right, all right. So, what about your gaming background though? You're building a game here, so you must, and you mentioned you're a software developer, so you must have some development background in gaming as well. I'm making a big assumption here.
Well, to be honest, like I've always been a hardcore gamer. Maybe not so much lately because we've been working so hard on this, but but I've always been a hardcore gamer. So I've played almost every genre. My favorite genre is MMORPGs. So I actually played the first MMORPG ever called Ultima Online, and then of course I was a really big so then I played Guild Wars, and then a lot of World of Warcraft. I've played every single expansion of World of Warcraft, and tried several other MMORPGs here and there, always looking for EVE Online, etc. But I never really was into game development, which is interesting. I mean, what I really was is in love with, and I'm in love with fantasy. So this project, it really merges like not just like my idealism with crypto and blockchain, and how excited I'm about the blockchain technology, but also how much I love fantasy. And our mission in Drunken Entertainment is to create the most epic fantasy universe, and we want to use blockchain to actually leverage human collaboration to create it together. So so yeah, I mean, it's been really, really, really cool, and I've been able to partner with a really good video game company, or they do video game consultancy with Unreal, and they've been terrific. They're really good game developers. So my tech background has allowed me to, you know, be able to actually speak with them and collaborate even better. Uh, but um, but yeah, right now I'm relying mostly on, collaborating with the actual pros on game development.
Gotcha. Understood. Understood. But it's also good that you have that deep gaming background and the love for it as well, so you know what they're building out, what's being developed. And did you say Ultima Online?
Yeah, that's.
That was a brilliant game.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I have vague recollections of it, but I'm 100% sure I played it. If I look up the videos and stuff, I'd know I spent endless hours on it. Yeah, at the moment it's uh Elder Scrolls Online at the moment.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
fantasy genre as well. Building up archers and sneak attacks and stuff. It's the way I play, or a battle mage or something like that. So absolutely love it. So this genre of game is perfectly down my alley. So I can't wait to actually get my hands on it and play a little bit more. So what exactly is it? So it's an MMO. Is it like how do we play it? What's it look like? What's the look and feel? Can you describe it to the audience here, so those people that haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, definitely. So we're actually developing two games. The one which is a little bit long term, game development takes a lot of time, especially if you really want to focus on making it super fun. Um, so this long term one is called Drunken Dragon Instant Quest, and it is actually a semi MMORPG. And in this game, you have a inn and tavern, a fantasy inn and tavern, and then you collect adventurers, and then you send them into adventures outside in a shared world. And then one of our main things, or the thing that I want us to focus on here, is actually the economy and the role that players have with each other within a complex economy of the game, right? So I'm talking about something similar to like EVE Online or even Ultima Online. What I really loved about these games is that not just going out into dungeons or killing monsters, but it was actually also the complex human interaction that came from the economy within the games and everything that you could do in there. So there's a lot of experimentation we want to do, which is coming out really cool. Right now, we're, for example, working really hard on making combat really, really fun, especially with the concept that, well, or NFTs, they unlock you adventurers, and then you have a whole party of adventurers. And right now, our combat, you have a party leader which you control, and you have skills a little bit like League of Legends, where it's like top down, and then you have like this action based skills. But you also have the rest of your party, which is controlled by AI. But we're making it so that the AI feels a little bit more human. Like they have like certain emotions about the situations, and you can command them, and they have like fear levels, etc. So it's coming out quite interesting because I really haven't played another game like this, and it's really exciting. It already feels accelerating, but we're still in alpha with that. Hopefully, we'll be able to show something on a CNFTCon. But yeah, and that's the first game, like the long-term vision. But we're also developing another game, which is a little bit shorter-term vision. It's called Drunken Dragon Idle Adventures, and it's an idle RPG. And this is basically a fun way to stake your NFT adventurers. We already have it in alpha, in public alpha testnet. We release it actually this week. And basically, you can take your adventurers, send them into quests that will last for a couple of days. And then when the days run out, you get the outcome if you still have your adventurers within your wallet. And if the quest is successful, they'll level up, and you'll also earn a Dragon Silver. And Dragon Silver is this token that we have to, which we'll use to sell exclusive NFTs and furniture for your tavern. So a lot of cosmetics. So it'd be like, I think, a fun way to actually get rewarded. So yeah, we're gonna basically experiment a lot with this game. I think it's since it's an idle RPG and it's easier to make because it's just like web-based. There's not many graphics, etc. We're gonna be experimenting with some of the complex economy models that we're designing. Actually, we have a great partner to design the economies of the game and of our ecosystem. It's called 01X, and they're a consulting company. They actually did the economy model for World Mobile Token. So I think we're in good hands there.
Wow. Okay. You got some really interesting, exciting things here. Like one, I love the human interaction aspect that you talked about really early in the game. So a lot of these MMOs, you have to interact with other players to, level up, get assets, whatever it might be. So if you're a crafter and you're finding all these assets, you can sell them on secondary markets. So that kind of human interaction is really, really important. So I really hope that's being focused on. And then the other aspect, this staking thing, are you using smart contracts with that? Like, how are you going about doing it? Like, I know other platforms are doing it. How are you guys doing it?
Well, we're basically learning from the best, right? We're learning from Cardano itself. We have liquid staking as well. So, for example, what we do is when you send the adventurers into, so there's no need for smart contracts on this one, right? Because when you send your adventurers into a quest, the quest is not decentralized, so that's within our systems. And then we basically save which NFTs went into the quest. And when the time runs out, we basically just check if you still have the NFTs in there. And we're constantly checking that you don't, well, yeah. So it's basically pretty much, it works pretty much like staking on Cardano pools works right now.
Yeah.
We just with snapshotting in the right moments.
I love
that. And yeah, it's basically that.
Yeah, absolutely love that. So I could see some interesting mechanisms and like D5 players there. Like you could do something really clever, like send your adventurer off on a quest, use that NFT, push it over to something like fluid tokens, put it out in a loan, get some ADA for it, and then get it back in time so that you get the snapshot back. So you can do some crazy things with that. So I love that it's liquid, so that people have more options to do and play around with it and do some really cool, amazing things with it. So all those mechanisms, absolutely awesome. And I love that it's liquid and it's done the same way as the Cardano ecosystem. So that's absolutely brilliant. So how do the NFTs get incorporated into the game then? So I know I've been on the secondary marketplace. I've bought a couple there. How do they come into the gameplay?
Well, so basically we are tokenizing assets, which in normal gaming, you will just not have rights over their transferring and usage, right? So something super important is that we're making sure that our games are not pay to win, right? So us coming from the normal gaming and entertainment industry, it is super important the games are actually fun, right? And there's actually like a big discussion right now on the practices that certain like big companies are doing right now, which are really anti-consumer. And so one of the big topics right now on normal gaming, so like let's say outside play to earn and crypto, etc. Right now we actually are criticism from them on X, for example, like saying that it's just an over-exaggeration of already the bad practices that the industry is doing. So we're learning a lot from that, and we're trying to make sure that crypto blockchain NFTs they become something positive for the gaming industry, right? So right now we're actually doing a little bit of research and development on that, also with 01X. But right now the plan is all NFTs are either adventurers or assets for your tavern. So let's say furniture, but everything is mostly aesthetic or gives just a little bit of extra power to it. Like, let's say one of the rarest adventures that you can get in our collections, it will be between 10 to 15% more powerful than the worst adventurer, which might not be even an NFT, right? So we're going towards the stronger collectible aspect of it and unlocking content, right? So let me give you some specific examples. So for example, in League of Legends, I think has like a really great business model, because what you purchase are just skins for your characters. And then there's another like good practice, I would say, in the gaming industry right now, which is unlocking DLCs. You basically just, pay to unlock some content, right? So we're gonna do something very similar, in the sense that you'll be able to unlock adventurers to play the game just by playing the game. And there'll be, all right, adventurers with good stats, whatever. But the coolest adventurers, they'll be NFTs, right? That people will be able to trade, and they'll be able to collect and brag about, etc., right? And some of these adventurers, they will unlock special content for the game, right? Like, for example, we will do some questing, some chain quests, so like story-based quests for certain adventurers. So for example, in our latest collection, which we're actually gonna mint in this Saturday, there's these 3 badass girls called the Death Queen. And we're actually developing a lot of lore behind them. So one of the things we want to do once the game is out is, if you have one member of the Death Queen, or you actually collect the 3 members of the Death Queen, you'll be able to unlock the Death Queen chain quest with a backstory, etc., right?
Cool. All
so
right. Yeah. So that really gives that desirability to collect these NFTs to unlock all the extra content, especially if you get really into the storyline and lore. And that's like another thing I want to talk about as well. Like, how did you develop the storyline, the quests, the stories, the lore, the characters, and all that? That would have taken forever.
Well, definitely. I mean, for example, for this collection, we've been developing it for 8-9 months already.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, and it's actually, I mean, full time in the company, it's 13 persons right now, right?
Yeah.
So like 6 full-time artists, 2 full-time game developers, other 2 full-time web developers, so on and so forth. And right now, I have the role of a creative director, which means that I have been influencing a lot the creation of the fantasy. But there's some talent that we acquire, which are also very creative. So it's been also an exploration on both discovering the what type of fantasy we want to create, and what processes we need to actually create it. But one of the things that we focused a lot on this collection was trying to start reflecting all the fantasy that we've been creating in the last months through the cards, right? So for example, right now we have some adventures. One of the rarity aspects of the adventures are the factions, right? So There's the Phil Knight, the Audistar, the Kulmir, and there's a lot of fantasy behind them, which I think is quite interesting, which we've been building in the last months around this region called Fjolden. And actually, we're gonna be releasing today or tomorrow an app to explore the collection, and each character will have this little read more, which will take you to a wiki with the lore of, which is still not quite complete, but I think this is one of the most exciting things. One of our objectives with Drunken Dragon Entertainment is to create a decentralized, autonomous fantasy franchise. This is a fantasy franchise, just like Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings, but which is governed by the fans, and there's incentives for creators to create products on top of. So we actually have an open, decentralized intellectual property, which is basically Creative Commons, and everyone can build on it. But we use the blockchain to verify and officialize the products and the stories and the lore, etc. So people will be able to go read a bit about the current lore that we've created. But when you go and read about it, people should see also like a white canvas, because we will be opening. We're actually going to be creating a decentralized treasury to fund projects that want to actually extend on that lore and create products on top of it. So let's say,
cool.
Yeah, like let's say video games, art, comics, web comics, etc.
That is really, really cool. Create the base and let the fandom take control, ownership, and be a part of the whole ecosystem as well. That's an absolutely brilliant gameplay there. Right.
Definitely.
Right.
And let me just add, I mean, our mission is to create the most epic fantasy universe. And we think that the way in which we can do it, if we want to become, like bigger and more popular than the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, etc., we think that the only way in which we can do that is through unlocking human collaboration, which is exactly what blockchain is about and what Cardano is about, right? I mean, Charles Hoskinson, he's constantly saying this, blockchain is about unlocking the potential of human collaboration. And that's what we want to do for the fantasy industry, for the entertainment industry. So we're going to explore all the interesting research that has been done on, in blockchain governance and decentralized treasuries, etc., to make sure that, we have the mechanism to create something remarkable in terms of this decentralized and autonomous fantasy franchise.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, we do have a question from the audience as well, if you're willing to take this. This Definitely. One here, it's asking, this is from Studio Malacca, asking what game engine is being used, and are you using any APIs provided by Cardano Sharp or any other toolkits out there?
Well, we're using Unreal Engine 4, and we're not using any toolkits because they mostly do not exist, at least on the game engine side. So we're basically right now using a lot of backend technology to support the game. So basically, with Unreal Engine, we create the client, which is the game that runs everything, except that this client is constantly communicating with servers that we actually communicate with Cardano nodes, and we use a lot of blockfrost.io. So the guys at Blockfrost, they're doing some really cool APIs. We actually pay for them because they're just brilliant. And we're using, we're probably going to use a lot of like hybrid setups. So for example, we're trying to figure out how to create accounts in our game. If we're going to do it like the traditional way, in which we create we make you register with an email, and then you synchronize some wallet with it, and authenticate some wallets with it, may it be through some transactions or a wallet app connector, and then based on that you log in the game, and then in the backend we'll know what assets you have and what type of transactions you have, and if there's any transaction that has to happen in the blockchain, then you'll have to do it through the dApp connector in the web interface. Of course, that's the, let's say, more centralized version of it. The purely decentralized version will be to have the client directly talk with the blockchain, which is also possible. But then we have to decide, and I think every crypto project has to decide, like, how much decentralization do you really need. For example, in the case of a game, it might not be that much, right? So, for example, depending on how you integrate or what advantages you want from the blockchain, you might want just to, do something simpler, like just read what NFTs the user has, or queue certain mintings that the user can do through a web interface, etc. But we're basically exploring and pioneering a bit that on the Cardano side. Of course, we're trying to learn a lot from, for example, Wax and what's already happening in Ethereum, etc. But I guess we're very early in general.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do like that you're using Block Frost extensively there, and but I guess it's a balancing act between the decentralization and centralization of the platform. But from my point of view, if I still have control of my assets and I can sell it whenever I want, it's, to me as a user, that's totally decentralized for me. As long as I can still play the game, control my assets, that's cool. That's totally fine. Now, you showed me a preview of some of the artwork for your season 2 mint, which is coming up, like you said, on Saturday, so very, very soon. Can you share your screen and show anything at the moment to the audience?
Oh, definitely. I just need to probably
rearrange your screen first.
Yeah, and yeah. Also, the aspect ratio of my screen won't be very friendly for the stream, but I can fix it super fast.
I should have prepped you for this, but I was going to ask you about the artwork and talk about who created it and stuff, but it's so much better if you can actually see it, because the quality of this is absolutely amazing. I had to look at your season 1, it's kind of that pixel art kind of thing, and then your season 2, you just took it to a whole new level, and I was like, wow, that's absolutely stunning. So I do want people to see it.
No, definitely. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So let's see. So that's I will share you
while you get that ready.
Screen.
So I'll put links for this. So like if you haven't joined the Discord for Drunken Dragon Games yet, I highly encourage that you do. There is a lot of chatter, a lot of people been playing around. There are a lot of members in there already. So it's a pretty good community to join. And if you're new to Cardano and haven't played around with it before, real easy. People there will really help you get into focus. And I've also bought assets off JPEG Store at this price. I think I bought some bar stools, and I've got a bartender in there now as well in my inn. I spent about 58 all up, and so I've kind of decorated it all in. So it's a start, and it's a good start, I think.
So can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's a little bit cropped, but we can see some of the assets. You might just need to zoom in a bit.
No, definitely. So this is the roster of our collection. So basically, we developed 50 characters, and you can get them. There are different factions, so different factions have different rarities, and also they come with different base stats called APS, or aptitude point sum. There's basically 3 stats which they'll define the progression of the character. So, for example, these are characters from the Field 9. I'll show you some the full-blown card art that we developed.
Yeah.
But basically, these are all the characters that you can you can get in the
Very, very
collection.
cool. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Artwork's fantastic and fantasy genre again. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Um,
And we got the
let
rarity
me,
there as well. So the amount that's available, 550. That's not many.
yeah, for example, these are the rarest. So these are the girls from the Death Queen, and they actually are animated. These ones we animated. They look really cool. I'll show them in a moment.
Yeah.
And these two guys, they're actually real life persons. So
Really?
Vimtir, yeah, Vimtir, he's our most active community member since like forever. So we wanted to like bring the community somehow. So Vimtir, we immortalize him. So we actually created him a character, gave him a little bit of a backstory, and he's, you know, we're the Drunken Dragon, and the Drunken Dragon is actually a fantasy tavern within the universe of the Drunken Dragon. And these two guys are adventurers of the Drunken Dragon, right? Sent to Theolden by Vledic, and you know, it's Vimtir the Whispering Axe, and also Terror Hertz. Terror Hertz is our community manager, but his our community is he is someone that came from the community as well. He's a really epic guy who started making content about us, and he was like super active, and we started, you know, actually interacting more with him, becoming friends, and now he's our community manager, and he's, you know, he's super hardworking person. So we also wanted to immortalize him as Hertz, the Herald of the Drunken Dragon. And these
Awesome.
basically are the two most rare cards in the collection. But let me show you how the cards actually look like full size.
Yep. Remember, and the
Like,
screen is cropped a little bit, so we can only see what's in the middle of your screen.
let me.
That's cool.
Can you properly see the full card?
I'll just do some magic here, and there we go. Yep, can see the full card.
Awesome. So let's show one of the more, like, for example,
Oh,
this is these
yeah,
are the
that's
Death
cool, mate.
Queen.
That's cool. Yeah. Must have taken ages to do these in this type of detailed pixel form and the animations as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of effort. I mean, we were, well, there was 6 full-time artists for the last 8 months. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
definitely, plus it's not just making the art, right? It's like developing the characters, the lore behind them, the fantasy, making sure there's like certain consistency between them. And what I wanted to show you is that you can also get them with foil. So
Oh,
this
wow.
is,
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, so this we call them, it has chroma, and
Yeah.
10%, there's an overall 10% chance that you get your card with foil instead of just
Yeah.
normal.
Just that little bit extra. Awesome. Okay.
And the miniature in the game also changes, like the base
Yep.
is it's decorated when it's like this.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to this. So, what are the details of the mint? So, I'll just close down that share screen. Yep. Cool. So, what are the details of the mint? Like, where do people go? Like, what do we do? How do we get more information about it? How do we get our hands on these?
Definitely. Well, we actually, I'm super happy to say that we actually partnered with JPG Store for this one.
Wow. Cool. Awesome.
So we are basically on starting Saturday. We're gonna be on the main page of jpg.store, and we will be the first project that uses their new feature for collection minting. So now in JPG Store, if you want to develop your own NFT collection, you won't need to develop the the store service, you can just go directly with JPG Store, credit there. The collection will immediately be, verified. You'll be able to set up the royalties, etc. So they're creating this really cool product, and we made like this mutual promotion through us being the first ones using their product and us being featured in JPG Store, which I think is going to be awesome.
Absolutely brilliant. A lot of people are familiar with JPG Store, and probably it is the most popular Cardano NFT marketplace at the moment. So a lot of people will appreciate that you're minting directly on that. I had no idea that they had that product in place as well. So that's really cool and awesome to learn about. Looking forward to the mint. Is there a specific time that we need to mint at?
It's going to be Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time in America, which I think is 4 p.m. in UTC.
That's a terrible time for me. Right, we're going to work on that, okay? We're going to work on those kind of mid dates, but I think it's like at 4 a.m. for me. Okay, all right. We'll see how that works out. See if I don't get any sleep on Sunday morning. Just see if that works.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. So that obviously is probably one of your funding mechanisms to pay for Drunken Dragons and all the development. Is that correct?
Right now, yes, that's correct. So if we go historically, I created the first collection called the Pixel Tiles, and that helped me, together with the D&D pool, that helped me fund getting the first artist I collaborated with, called Jorge Ferraz. He did an awesome job at creating the Grandmaster Adventures collection. And with the sales of the Grandmaster Adventure collection, we actually funded creating this 12-person team for the last year. So this collection will actually fund, the next stage at the Drunken Dragon expansion. So we're basically completely bootstrapping the whole ecosystem. But of course, hopefully with this, we're gonna start creating some new revenue streams. Like, for example, hopefully, royalties will start becoming important. We're creating our new services and games, like, for example, Drunken Dragon Idle Adventures. Hopefully that will create there. We have some ideas on the economy for this game, for the Drunken Dragon Idle Adventures. So, for example, with the Dragon Silver that you earn, you'll be able to get furniture for your cosmetic furniture for your taverns that will be usable in all the games in the future, right? And also currently, right, we already have an alpha out for Drunken Dragon Instant Quest where you can use your furniture and your adventures to create this like cool looking diorama. But as recommended, and as we are working with 01X, we might experiment on not just you getting the furniture just for Dragon Silver immediately, but also start. We're gonna experiment on creating some economy with fungible tokens on resources that you can get in the game, and then so that you can actually in the game you will actually need to go gather some resources, trade some resources, all fungible tokens, so you can actually also trade them. Let's say elsewhere, like in some decks or whatever, and then you'll take some of the characters that we're releasing in this collection. They're actually like there's a carpenter and there's blacksmiths, etc. So you'll be able to use them together with some Dragon Silver and some of these materials that you've gathered to actually create a cosmetic, right? So we're gonna try to make it a bit, fun and already start introducing some interesting mechanics to it.
Okay.
And hopefully this will also create hopefully this will also create like some new revenue streams as well, from like liquidity pools, etc. And so we're constantly looking for new business models that are unique to the blockchain universe. But we're making sure we're super careful on, caring always first on the fun aspects of the games, and on not creating like the opportunity for depredatory actions or activities in our ecosystem. So we really want to create like a healthy community and economy and ecosystem, which makes sure that we're building towards creating the most epic fantasy universe. And we're all about community and passion for fantasy. So we really want to make sure that all of our business models that we come out with, they keep to that ethos, right?
Right. Awesome. Brilliant. Yeah, it's hard to get some of these business models right and get the funding for the game. And like you said, bootstrapping from one NFT mint to the next to keep the company up and running is hard, because you have to depend on those NFTs minting. We're in a bear market at the moment now, so everything's a little bit lower, and you're paying a 12-person team with all these assets that you're getting in. So hard.
Yeah.
Different revenue models, definitely good. Highly recommend merchandise if you can. If I can use Dragon Silver to purchase merchandise, I certainly will. So,
that's a really cool idea. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
we'll definitely
take,
explore that
royalties
one
on that too. Yeah.
Okay. No, and it is hard, and if this there's always an alternative for funding, which is something we really don't want to do, which is getting VCs, right? Which there's already been a little bit of interest, and we're in starting this month, we joined a Genius X Accelerator program. So
Congrats.
we do have the means to maybe go and pitch to some VCs, but we want to make sure that the interest of our ecosystem is really focused on the fantasy and on creating some real fire. I mean, one of our visions is for the Drunken Dragon autonomous fantasy franchise is to have like this integrated application where you can explore everything that the community is creating around the Drunken Dragon IP, right? And I think that creating this decentralized economy where the only thing that you need is really talent and the capacity to go and propose good quality products to the community, it's really world changing, because this means that it doesn't matter where you come from or where you are or what you do. The important thing is that you create some quality fantasy products, right? And I see this, one of my biggest goals in life is to create a positive, good impact in the world for humanity. This is what brought me to Cardano per se.
Brilliant.
And one of the ways in which I think the Drunken Dragon universe can create that positive impact is by creating these opportunities in underserved areas of the world where they are excluded in many ways, right? But they're currently being included thanks to Cardano technology. So, for example, there's people that before didn't have internet. Now they're being connected by World Mobile Token. Yeah. These are people that before didn't have financial services, like basic things we need to survive, like banking, lending, etc. Now they're gonna get it thanks to Cardano technology. And we want to be even like on top of that. We want to offer them inclusivity in a globalized economy where they can actually start, maybe grabbing a digital a drawing path, and then just start, proposing their own fantasy to the Drunken Dragon universe. And no one will judge them if they come, from whatever region in the world, if they're starting to propose interesting things, and this economy will have, the incentives for them to actually exploit that creativity that we're in the rest of the world we're losing, right? I mean, if half of the world is disconnected, we're actually losing half of the Einsteins and Tolkien's of the world, right? So once we include these people, it's a win-win scenario for everyone. For them, for having, you know, the opportunity to develop not just financially but also creatively, and for us to be able to enjoy the creations of these people, right? So yeah.
Beautiful. You know, we do take a lot of our Western world for granted, the financial systems, legal systems, and everything around it. And, you know, a lot of people just don't have access to any of that, just as you said. But I really like the creativity that could come from different cultures around the world once you have this enabled. Like, imagine a culturally inspired characters and lore coming into the game. So it forms like a new DLC, a download content pack, and forms a whole new aspect that no one would have thought of because we're thinking a different way. So that's absolutely brilliant. And, you know, I really hope that happens. And the future of this game, I look back in 5 years' time and go, wow, it actually did happen. So fingers crossed that vision does come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I really think that creativity is not just coming out with something new from nowhere. I think creativity is really taking things that already work out there, merging them in a new interesting way and adding that little extra on top, right? So the Drunken Dragon universe idea of, you know, creating this decentralized intellectual property, etc., is really trying to incentivize that, right? So for example, one of the things that will be required for you to become an official product of the Drunken Dragon universe is that everything that you create becomes Creative Commons. So this means that once you have, you know, contributed to the Drunken Dragon universe with some interesting story, with some interesting game, with some interesting art, others will be able to take it and use it in a new interesting way, right? Like, for example, let's say that you're a novelist and then you really like, let's say, one of the characters we created on this season 2, right? And then you propose like this small story, this small novel or comic that gives this character much depth in his backstory, right? And then you propose it, the governance like it, and then it goes official. You sell the product, you make some money, you make some royalties out of it, etc. But then someone else comes and says like, hey, this is actually a really cool novel. I love the story. I love not just the backstory of the character, but the new characters this guy introduced. I'll make a video game about it, right? Or I'll make, you know, a web series about it, or I'll make, you know, the chapter 2 of this story and introduce some different things. And then if the community likes it, it's just gonna get integrated and it's just gonna add to it. And then other creative people will be able to come and then just take all of this, you know, different aspects of the lore and the universe and the art, and they'll be able to recombine it into something even more interesting. So when you say like, you know, it's going to be super interesting to include everyone because there's going to be a lot of different cultures influencing the development of the fantasy, it's definitely true. And it's going to be super interesting to see, you know, how this gets mixed into like super interesting artwork and super interesting stories, etc.
The negative side of that is, you know, someone's going to get rich off writing version 2 of the novel, like chapter 2 of the short story, for example. And you know, the very first person that wrote the lore on the wiki about that character might get upset. I know they've published the content as Creative Commons, but you know, it's like, why did that person get rich off the character that I created from, you know, the very beginning and wrote the backstory on? How do you manage something like that? I guess you do give up all those rights and stuff when you submit to a platform like this, and you're saying everything's open source, everything Creative Commons. How does person A that started things in the beginning get contribution for person C that continued the storylines?
Well, through giving them some stake of the whole universe, right? So this is what, you know, blockchain is really good at, and this is why we will create this token called Dragon Gold. and Dragon Gold is going to be our governance token. And we're basically going to be minting Dragon Gold and giving it to creators that contribute to the universe, right? So once you contribute to the universe and your creative work becomes, Creative Commons and part of the Drunken Dragon universe, you have several advantages, right? So first, it's going to be cool to create a product on top of the Drunken Dragon universe because it's going to be a well-established IP, right? So it's just like creating a product for Star Wars, let's say. You just have to make sure that it's a great product and maybe that extends a bit the lore. But there's a big advantage on creating on some already established IP, right? So there's one advantage there. The second one will be once you have created a product and it was authorized by the decentralized governance, the product will be sold directly through the integrated marketplace of the Drunken Dragon universe. So there's like an advantage of already having a well-established marketplace for consumers to check out your product, right? And actually purchase and use it. And the third one is when you contribute a product, you just don't, you get certain royalties in the same way in which, right now NFTs give royalties when they mint. So you sell it, you get royalties, and then you get some Dragon Gold, right? And in the Drunken Dragon ecosystem, Dragon Gold gives you a bit of a revenue share in a decentralized way, so it doesn't become like, it doesn't become we're super careful on not becoming a security, especially, there's USA, blah blah. But you also get decision power over what else gets developed, etc. In our white paper, we explain it a bit further, but basically the governance is split in two parties. Those who have voting power through Dragon Gold and those who have voting power through the NFTs process that they acquire, right? And remember that NFTs right now, they represent a lot of collectibles, but they can represent almost anything, right? So we want to represent all products that get sold through the marketplace, even if they're physical or if they are not per se collectibles through NFTs, so that basically you can vote with the things that you consume. So imagine that you had like a huge collection of Star Wars things and you actually had like voting power with those things to decide what happens with the universe or how the franchise gets developed, right? So this is basically what we want to achieve. So, going back to your question, if you contribute and are giving away the rights of your work, you're basically getting some stake of the whole universe back.
Gotcha.
And this stake will, it's something that is valuable per se, right? So it's if you're one of the first contributors, then there's like there's an incentive to be one of the first contributors, right? Because we're going to have an inflation curve, etc.
Brilliant. Okay. I've learned so much about the game, the platform, and everything else around it. There's a lot more than just the game. So I absolutely love that. How can people get started? Where do people go for this mint that's happening on the weekend? Where we can find out more information and engage with the ecosystem?
Well, I really recommend joining Discord. Our Discord is really awesome. We have so many really helpful and kind community members. We have the innkeepers, which are our mods, which are super helpful. So as soon as someone joins and says, "Hi, I'm new here," everyone welcomes you warmly, and any questions that you may have, you can just post them and everyone will be able to answer them. I'm also very active in Discord, or as much as I can. So whenever someone has, a specific question that no one can answer, I'll just go hop in and just answer it. Otherwise, following us on Twitter. Twitter is maybe one of our most important communication platforms as well. We constantly tweet on anything that is important regarding our universe, etc. And yeah, like basically Discord will be able to map you to whatever you want to know about, etc. The web page has a link to the alpha of Drunken Instant Quest, and also link to our white paper if you want to delve deep into the like long-term vision of the project. And we're starting to actually publish some Medium articles, you know, explaining a bit more of a certain thing. So there's plenty of content to consume on what our vision is for a future decentralized fantasy and entertainment industry.
Absolutely brilliant. All right. I put all the links to everything that I find down in the show notes and over to JPEG Store. So if you want to get started with the Season 1 assets as well. And good luck to anyone that's going to be awake during the mint time to be able to mint some of those Season 2 assets. They look absolutely fantastic, and I love what you guys are doing. Vledic, awesome to have you on the podcast. Awesome to learn more about Drunken Dragon games as well. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Pete, for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And thank you for doing this live as well. It's something I almost never do.
Well, it was a lot of fun. It is cool, isn't it? It's a little bit more exhilarating, etc.
Edge of your seat kind of interview. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Cheers.
See ya.